despite the challenges and gender disparities women face around the world, women are breaking into more industries and taking more leadership roles than ever before. I'm excited to be joined by Nina Oduro, the co-founder of Dine Diaspora, an agency that connects people and brands to African food and culture. Nina, welcome to the show. We're really looking forward to this interview, but I think my first question is, tell me kind of how you got around to doing what you're doing, and maybe explain very briefly what Dine Diaspora is.
Sure. Thanks for having me, and really great day to be here on International Women's Day. Dine Diaspora's work came out of my desire with my co-founder to really connect people to food and use food to tell stories. And in that work, we recognized that telling food and the Black narratives that exist in food was not very much something that was out there. So we honed in and discovered that many of the talent, the chefs that you might see in the kitchens, the restaurant, many of them have challenges that we wanted to address. And so that has really inspired a lot of the initiatives that we have done at Dine Diaspora.
Well, I mean, you certainly picked a topic on food that transcends sort of almost all races and all cultures, but specifically your focus on the Black women. Maybe go a little deeper into what that means for that group of women when it comes to both the culture and the heritage, and honestly, just sheer pride.
Yeah, so along the way through Dine Diaspora's work, we were working with a number of Black chefs, a number of people throughout the whole food community, and recognized that Black women were actually the most undervalued in that work. As we worked on brand campaigns, social media campaigns, marketing initiatives, Black women were the least picked for those opportunities in our own work. And so we recognized that with that, we wanted to address it. As Black women ourselves, it was inevitable that we wanted to also make sure that the people that we represent were getting the opportunities that they also deserved. And the issue really is quite large. It's actually, you know, globally, Black women are actually doing a lot of work in the food industry, but oftentimes you don't see them being amplified in media. You don't see them getting some of the world's largest awards on food. And we really questioned that and started to address that ourselves, not waiting on anyone else to solve that problem or to see it as an issue even. We thought, here's our chance to make an impact and really serve Black women and recognize them and support them in their work.
You know, being an entrepreneur, I can tell you, is extremely difficult no matter who you are, what walk of life you're from. But I imagine it might be especially difficult if you don't have the mentor, the social safety net, and the group of individuals around you to give you real, true, honest advice. What's some advice that you would provide future entrepreneurs out there who say, this is too expensive, this is too hard, I don't have the time, I don't have the friends? And there's always a reason not to do something, because being an entrepreneur, it is very risky and very hard.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail, right? Access to mentorship, access to networks. Sometimes access to capital really stifles and becomes one of the biggest problems that entrepreneurs may say, well, I can't do that. I know when I started with my co-founder, we didn't have all the money in the world, but we had the desire and curiosity to solve a problem. And we had to test it with the community. You don't have to have everything. You don't even have to know everything. But one thing I would say is find your people. Find people who are interested in the work. Find people who will encourage you. Find those people. And even if you don't have it, I think leverage your own interest and curiosity and make new connections. Right now, in the world we are today, digital connection is one of the fastest and best ways to leave your community entirely and to connect with someone else around the world who may be already in the space that you want to go in, and learn from them and maybe connect with them and see how they did it. We don't have to stay in our own backyard anymore. We don't have to look for inspiration where there may not be. We can go find it everywhere. So to any new entrepreneur, anyone thinking, I want to do something on my own, I say try, and if you fail, try again.
I hope, you know, women, including my own daughters, are listening to this and can take some inspiration from it, that hard work and tenacity makes a huge role and I know the women in my life that have been very successful, you know, one common denominator is they don't take no for an answer, number one, but number two, they ask excellent questions and they know when to ask for support, and there's that compassion that I think that they can do that very few can do that. You're matching compassion with hard work, with the numbers, and there's a lot of skill sets that are in play. How did you balance all these things to be sort of good boss, bad boss, and good entrepreneur?
You know, you say a lot of skills are required, and actually, I think one of the skills that we, often forget is determination. You know, in being a good boss, in being a bad boss, in not knowing how to be a boss, you just have to be determined in the fact that you want to achieve something, that you want to create a business that will serve the needs of others, and determined enough to also fail. You know, sometimes you're not going to get it right the first time. I've had several businesses. This isn't my first. They all didn't thrive the way that I wanted it to. However, it's the lessons I learned from one to the other that has enabled me to get to where I am today. And I can't wait to see what the lessons I learned from what I'm doing now is going to help me do more even next. So it's really thinking and leveraging, how can you get inspiration within yourself and the people that may be around you to get to the next level?
This Women's Day, of course, is celebrated internationally, and every government has their own different initiatives on supporting Women's Day and specifically equity in terms of pay, both at the boardroom, from the lowest job to the highest job. What policies do you see that governments make that has really made a big difference going forward, or which ones would you recommend countries look at? Because there are so many different countries with so many different types of policies, it is sometimes hard to measure which ones are most effective.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And one of the key ones that I think should be prioritized around the world are benefits. There cannot be enough said about the benefits women need. Maternity leave is one of the big ones. Sick leave, anywhere that anyone works, for any workplace, people that are trying to gain a living for themselves, to support themselves, to support their families, getting the right benefits is really important. And that also goes for, gig workers and folks that are outside of the consistent and normalized social systems of work that we have always had. And it's evolving. You know, the gig workers have evolved into tech spaces that are different from the past gig workers. And so there's an expanding definition of what work is and what work means. And I think for women in particular, this is very critical into what does it look like to be a woman worker from home, contributing to a thriving economy, yet not having the benefits, having to take care of your kids while you're working. That is certainly not the most ideal situation in most cases, yet it benefits businesses tremendously.
We see that more than ever with this whole call to work from home and come back to the office, and that's a whole nother conversation. But Nina Oduro, I want to thank you for your time and your inspiration, and we look forward to your continued success in the next chapter of whatever you're working on. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.